Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my Patreon page. And I have just a little gorgeousness to share with you today. I've been reading slowly through this book by poet David Whyte. It's called Consolations: The Solace, Nourishment, and Underlying Meaning of Everyday Words. So that's right up my poetic-y, wordy, smithy alley. It's been really fun to read. But yesterday I came upon the word courage right there, and I had a hard time not underlining the whole thing. So I actually thought I would just do a little gift of 4.5 pages, smaller book than usual. Here's a normal size book. So it's not a typical size book. Oh, maybe it's very close. But anyway, it's not big, huge pages. So hopefully this won't be too much for you, but it was such a beautiful little meditation on the word courage that I thought it would be good to share it. Courage. Courage is a word that tempts us to think outwardly, to run bravely against opposing fire, to do something under besieging circumstances, and perhaps, above all, to be seen to do it in public. To show courage, to be celebrated in story, rewarded with medals, given the accolade, but a look at its linguistic origins is to look in a more interior direction and toward its original template, the old Norman French cœur, or heart. Cœur, any French speakers would probably be able to say that better than I did. Courage is the measure of our heartfelt participation with life, with another, with a community, a work, a future. To be courageous is not necessarily to go anywhere or do anything except to make conscious those things we already feel deeply, and then to live through the unending vulnerabilities of those consequences. To be courageous is to seat our feelings deeply in the body and in the world, to live up to and into the necessities of relationships that often already exist with things we find we already care deeply about, with a person, a future, a possibility in society, or with an unknown that begs us on and always has begged us on. To be courageous is to stay close to the way we are made. Okay, I seriously underlined that. I underlined care deeply about an unknown that begs us on and always has begged us on. Lately, that has been life, just my inner sense of life, and like my life calling me in particular ways. To be courageous is to stay close to the way we are made. I'm finding as I do more and more trauma-informed mind-body practices and healing work, it's like who I am truly made is becoming more and more strong and apparent and vocal and alive in the world, and that seems to be the whole point. And it feels really good, and it's also very scary. It takes courage. The French philosopher Camus used to tell himself quietly to live to the point of tears, not as a call for maudlin sentimentality, but as an invitation to the deep privilege of belonging, and the way belonging affects us, shapes us, and breaks our heart at a fundamental level. It is a fundamental dynamic of human incarnation to be moved by what we feel, as if surprised by the actuality and privilege of love and affection and its possible loss. Courage is what love looks like when tested by the simple, everyday necessities of being alive. Parenthood is a timeless test of courage and alignment. To be a new mother or father and live up to and into the overwhelming power and helplessness of that new love is to be heartfelt, to be courageous, just by the fact of being shaken and realigned with a new and surprising life, come from nowhere. The first courageous step may be firmly into complete bewilderment and a fine state of not knowing. As new parents, we may not even know what the word parent means. We may not know what to do or how to get through. We live literally to the point of tears and fears, our own and our child's. There is no enemy line to throw ourselves at, no medal to be earned. The interior template of courage shows itself slowly, imperceptibly, the interior psyche settling and seating itself into a relationship with a future that chooses as its foundation a new and unknown child. From the outside, we see only someone walking along the street, heavily pregnant, or pushing a stroller, weighted by the bric-a-brac of parenthood, no glamour in the outward show, deserving of no medal, but on the inside, a heartfelt, robustly vulnerable, and courageous realigning of one life with another. The beginning of a courageous bearing inside that will only later come to fruition on the outside. As actual parents or not, we become courageous whenever we live closely and to the point of tears with any new possibility made known inside us. Whenever we demonstrate a faith in the interior annunciations and align ourselves with the new and surprising and heartfelt necessities of even the average existence. To allow ourselves to feel deeply and thoroughly what has already come into being is to change our future, simply by living up to the consequence of knowing what we hold in our affections. From the inside, it can feel like confusion. Only slowly do we learn what we really care about or allow our outer life to be realigned in that gravitational pull. With maturity, that robust vulnerability comes to feel like the only necessary way forward, the only real invitation, and the surest, safest ground from which to step. On the inside, we come to know who and what and how we love and what we can do to deepen that love. Only from the outside and only by looking back does it look like courage. There was so many thoughts in there. I literally have not moved on from that word for 2 days. So I've been just sitting in that, and I'm so grateful for David's words. Like he said some things that I've heard before about courage, but oh man, he just went deeper with it in some ways, and it's even hard to pull it out yet because I don't think I'm done living with it. But I'm really liking that. I'm jiving on that. That chapter has been good, and I really kind of like that he focused on internal courage, and that we may not even see courage when it's actually happening at quite an extent, because of that interiority of it, and that, like he said, only later can we see it from the outside, which actually Dickens used to say when people would ask him about being an author and a story writer. He would say that the best storytellers are those who, when you look back, you can see the thread lining going all the way through the story so that it all makes sense. But as you're going through it, you can't see the thread that's holding it all together and creating this momentum. And I have always thought that that's a very wise thing to think about. Like if we're frustrated or something's difficult in life, we can't see that thread, but when we look back, and I think dovetailing David Whyte's notion of being honest and true to our interior and to honor and allow ourselves to be moved in directions that are true and honest with our interior self, then those lines can be seen from the outside later and they can make sense. And it feels again like there's an incarnational reality about that. So just some thoughts. I just thought I would bring you some things to chew on because they're kind of zinging around inside me. So thank you. And this would be a little bit of an example of what a Mirroring the Mystics, I imagine the podcast will be like. I'm not quite at the point of doing it yet because just figuring out the right kind of technology and platform things to put around that. But this is kind of the similar type of thing where I would be reading from the mystic and just kind of going off and riffing and wondering about it. And then people would have the ability here on Patreon to be able to have a conversation about it or to respond. And so I'm really excited about that when that comes about. So thank you and have a great day. And yeah, thanks so much for listening. Bye.